Welcome everybody to this episode of Snooze TV. We're very excited that you're joining us this evening. Tonight's episode is all about how to start a support group, and we're very excited about our guest panel members. But we want tonight's show to be very interactive, and so first we're going to talk about ways that you, the audience members, can participate in the show. And then we're going to introduce our guest panel members, and we're going to talk about how to start a support group. So the first thing that I want to do is introduce you to myself. My name is Jennifer Beard. I'm one of the board members of the Hypersomnia Foundation. I'm also your host for Snooze TV. You can see all of our Snooze TV episodes in our Snooze TV archives on our website at www.hypersomniafoundation.org. If you're watching this on our website, that's great. You won't be able to pose live questions to our guest panel members on our website. However, if you scroll down to the bottom of our website, you'll see our social media icons, and if you click on our Google Plus icon or if you click on our YouTube icon, you can go over to either of those pages and you can watch this broadcast live, and you can post comments in the boxes underneath the live broadcast either on YouTube or on Google Plus. And your comments will come into our feed and we'll be able to pull them on the air. So let's talk about some tips for our audience members when they're making comments. So I'm going to try to share my screen here and pull up some tips for the audience. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So we have 5 tips for our audience members here. The first tip is to keep your questions succinct. We can only see so many characters and so many words on our screen at a time. So in order for us to be able to fully see your entire question, try to kind of shorten it to be as succinct as possible. The second tip is to keep your questions general. We don't have any medical professionals or physicians on the panel here this evening, so we're not going to be able to answer questions about your specific medical condition. But we do have support group leaders and experts on our guest panel this evening, so we're certainly willing and ready and able to answer all of the questions that you may have about how to start a support group. Please pose questions that you think would be really helpful for the audience. Perhaps you know the answer, but you think that we should talk about it on the show because it would be helpful for other people to hear who may not know the answer. So if that's the case, please feel free to pose that question as well in the comment section. We love to hear your comments too, so if you're enjoying the show or if something one of our guest panel members says resonates with you, then please feel free to let us know that you're enjoying the show and give us those comments as well. And please be aware that your comment and question may appear on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Okay, am I back? Can you see me?
You're back.
Okay, great. All right, so I just want to remind you that our live show, our live Snooze TV show, occurs the second Friday of every month throughout 2015. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time is when our live broadcast is. But as I said, we archive and record all of our broadcasts, and you can find those broadcasts on our YouTube page as well as on our website under Snooze TV Archives. So feel free to check out our previous shows. So I want to go ahead and introduce our guest panel members to you this evening, who are support group leaders and experts from all around the country. So we're going to start with Sarah D. David. So Michael, if you don't mind whiteboxing Sarah D. for us, let me unwhitebox myself. Okay. Sarah D. David currently serves as the president of Narcolepsy Network. Her husband, Jason, was diagnosed with narcolepsy in 2005. And after the dust settled on the diagnosis, they really longed to have support from others who were in a similar situation. When Sarah joined the Narcolepsy Network, she knew she wanted to focus on developing a process by which people could start support groups and cultivating connections with other people. She currently runs this committee for the network and also leads sessions at each Narcolepsy Network conference on how to start a support group. So welcome, Sarah D. We appreciate you joining us this evening.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Great. Our next guest panel member is Sarah Nichols. Sarah Nichols has always been sleepy, but it was not enough to disrupt her daily activity until the fall of 2013. Since she works from home most days, she was able to hide her naps until she was diagnosed with idiopathic hypersomnia in February 2014. The first thing she did was try to find additional information on the internet. By leveraging her connections on social media, she found a community of support to help her cope. However, nothing compares to connecting with people in person. So last winter, she started attending a local support group and has found that quite helpful. Welcome to the show, Sarah N. We appreciate you joining us this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And we also have, joining us this evening, Diana Kimmel. Diana Kimmel is a stay-at-home mother of two. Both Diana and her oldest child have been diagnosed with idiopathic hypersomnia. After searching on the internet for and asking her physicians about local support groups, she was frustrated to discover that there weren't any. So Diana decided to start her own support group, and that's why she's here with us this evening. Thanks for joining us, Diana.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
And last but certainly not least, we have Michael Sparrace with us this evening. Michael is a product management analyst for Home Depot. He received his Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy at Clemson University and began his career working for Clemson University's Master of Public Administration program. This led to an exciting opportunity working as CTO for an education technology startup in Virginia. After Michael met his wife, Deidre, he began looking for a position in the Atlanta area where he currently resides and works. Michael became interested in the Hypersomnia Foundation after his wife, recently diagnosed with idiopathic hypersomnia, attended the 2014 Hypersomnia Conference. He has a background in web development, data analysis, tech support, and distance education. And for tonight, he's going to be joining us as our technical producer, and he's going to be pulling all of your questions on the air. So we're very grateful, Michael, to have you join us this evening. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so let's jump right in and go to our questions. So the first question that I'd like to ask our guest panelists is, we're here talking about how to start a support group, but I guess we really need to kind of talk about why are support groups important? Why should we start support groups? Why do we want to encourage more people to start support groups?
I'd like to start with that one, if I may. I think that the support groups are really important. When I was first diagnosed with hypersomnia, I spent, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes in my sleep doctor's office, and I was tired. And, you know, I sat there and I wrote idiopathic hypersomnia down on a piece of paper and thought, oh, well, you know, I'll be able to find out more about that. Well, no, I won't, actually. There's not much out there for it, you know, back a year ago even. So I think that the support groups are really helpful. You know, we're kind of alone with this problem that we've got. You know, being that it's a big world and there's not many of us in it that have this problem. So, you know, it's I think that the support groups are really needed. The in-person support groups are really great. I think that was probably helped me more than the online support groups. I just really, you know, knowing that there's other people out there and getting other ideas of how to deal with the medicine, because, you know, like that 10-minute session with my doctor, he doesn't take these medicines. He doesn't know what it makes you feel like. And then I was talking to a friend of mine about a month ago, and I was complaining about clarithromycin, and she kind of gave me what for. It was like, you know, suck it up and take it. And then I told her about my stomach ache, and she's like, oh, well, do this. And I did, and it worked. And there you go. You know, and that was a support group. That was the doctor that he didn't help me with that. So anyway, I'm just a real big fan of support groups.
I love that you say that the in-person support groups are so helpful. And I know, you know, virtual worlds are really important, and the social media support groups that are out there on different social media channels are important. And I kind of think of Snooze TV as a type of support group, you know, like a webinar that's out there on the internet and a resource for people. But when you're meeting in person, in present, face-to-face, I think it brings a whole new dynamic about it. And Sarah D., I'm going to come to you now, if you don't mind, because we kind of talked a little bit. Hi,
Sorry.
babe. That's okay. We talked a little bit in your bio about, you know, why support groups were important to you. So I wanted to come to you and hear your take on why start a support group.
Yeah, so the support group that we have in Chicago, we're really lucky. We're like a family, and we've been meeting since 6 years, I guess.
Wow.
But, you know, there's something, you know, a lot of people, and especially with narcolepsy and hypersomnia, they don't necessarily see the most qualified doctor, or the doctor has the newest knowledge. So while you can't get medical advice from a support group, you can get ideas to possibly take back to your doctor and say, I mean, I always try to remind people that doctors, one, you pay them, like, to do a service, and two, they're not the experts of everything. So it's okay to be educated, take in that information, and then talk to your doctor. And the support group is a great place to learn about the other treatments that people are going through, alternative treatments. It's a great place to realize, you know, with these sleep disorders, your symptoms are not on the outside. So you don't know other people that have these symptoms until you get together and start talking, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, yeah, I procrastinate all the time, and then you see everybody's head shake because they procrastinate too, and you realize, like, it's not just you. Like, this is technically a symptom or a byproduct of your condition. So, you know, it gives you a chance to be normal. And when we walk into support group 30 minutes late, nobody blinks an eye. Like, that's totally normal. In fact, if we get there early, they think that's crazy. So, you know, it's just like having that place where you feel that you fit.
Well said. Well said. Diana, I'm going to come to you now for a minute. I know that in your bio you had mentioned just being frustrated that there was really nothing out there for you, and that's kind of what motivated you to start your support group. So tell us about that frustration. Why is it frustrating to have nothing available? And how did that motivate you?
I had a similar experience like Sarah N. I had gotten my diagnosis, and my doctor had basically said to me, don't go home and Google it. It will just upset you. And I thought he was meaning about the symptoms or the diagnosis itself, but it was more about that there's no information out there. You Googled it, there was nothing. There was no pamphlets, there's just nothing. It was probably about a year before I found a Facebook group. And Facebook groups are nice, but it didn't have that personal touch. The first time I met another person with hypersomnia, I can't explain the feeling. It was like you met a long-lost friend, you met somebody that understood you. That shaking of the head when they can relate something that you really thought you were alone in the world, that changed my life. So for me, starting a support group was giving that to myself and everybody, giving everyone that opportunity to come together once a month or once every 2 months and be able to ask questions, confirm what you're feeling, hear what other people are going on in their lives, and just basically feel welcomed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Diana. Sarah D., I want to come back to you for a minute because I know that you have some steps that you have provided for people to kind of help them get started. And so if you'd be willing to, I'd like to do a screen share and have you talk us through some of that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen here. Uh-oh, was that me? Michael, did I do something wrong?
I think you're good.
Okay.
Yep, we see your screen.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I kind of just broke it down into some really simple steps. And the first one is pick a name. And the reason I say this is because of number 2, set up an email address. I find that you know, you could be the only person at the beginning starting the support group, but hopefully you'll have more members later and you'll be able to delegate some of the responsibility. So if you set up an email address and then somebody else wants to take over manning that email address later, you know, it's simple to pass it off. It's not like it's your personal email address. I prefer Google only because you can share calendars, and there's the, you know, all kinds of Google things that you could do with the Gmail, but it's really up to you. So the name can be as simple as ours is Midwest Narcolepsy Support Group, or I know that there's a support group that's like the Sleepy People of Southwest Louisiana, or Southwest Louisiana Sleepy People. So, you know, something, anything. And then set up the email address, and you know, right now it might be you that answer it, but eventually, hopefully, you could pass that responsibility on to another member of your support group. Do I need to go to the next one? Okay, great. Decide how often you're going to meet. So at the beginning, it could be you or a couple other people, but I find that consistency is the key. People need to know that they can count on, if you say the group is going to meet on this day, they need to know that whether they decide 5 minutes before the support group meeting, if they go, that somebody's going to be there. So try to pick amount of time. Like if you know you can only commit 4 Saturdays a year, pick those 4 Saturdays, plan them out, and even if you're the only person there, keep going every week, because eventually you will get, more people will come once they know it's dependable. In Wisconsin, we had a support group, and the support group leader, they had, it was in Kenosha, and they probably had 20 people show up the first day. And they always had a good turnout, but she didn't delegate any responsibility, and then she had a family emergency and had to cancel at the last minute, like 2 or 3 support group meetings. And then after a while, nobody started coming when she did pick up, because they showed up to those last minute cancellations. Nobody was there, so it's just harder. So only commit to what you could do, and then eventually, once there's more people, I mean, we meet monthly in Chicago, once a month, first Saturday of every month, and sometimes there's 3 people, and sometimes there's, you know, 20 people, and sometimes it's never people with narcolepsy, it's always their supporters, so you never know. Pick a location. It should be somewhere that has privacy. I know that there are still some people with narcolepsy who don't want other people in their community. I'm sure it's the same with hypersomnia. And so, you know, if it's just somewhere that it's not obvious, where you have like big signs, free is great. There's some places that we have members meet are the library, church, doctor's offices, hospitals, VFW. We meet at a hospital in Evanston, but we're not associated with the hospital, so you don't have to be a patient there. It's just they give us a meeting space at the hospital. And I don't want to jump around, but I just wanted to note about the meeting space is that the Narcolepsy Network will help sponsor any members support group. We have a grant set up, so if you needed funds for a support group meeting, we would be able to help you with that.
Oh, we definitely would like to hear more about that. But first, I wanted to just mention, I really appreciate how you kind of put everything in a chronological order. Because to me, I would have thought that the best thing to do would be to find a space first. And, you know, coming up with a name and an email address, that probably would have been, you know, well down on my list. So I like that you have that progression of pick your name first, then do your email address, then decide when you're going to meet, and then find a space. And let's talk about space for just a second. I want to come back to that grant thing. I'm going to make myself a note of that. So you said that your meeting, Sarah D., is typically held in a hospital, so I want to come back to you in a second. Diana, typically where do you guys hold your meetings?
I was able to use some space at the Emory Sleep Lab. I looked at several different options, like churches. It either was difficult to get into, there was cost involved. So I was very lucky the Emory Sleep Lab offer up their area to us, which is very accessible, and it's free parking. So it really works out nice, and a lot of people know where it is.
So Sarah D., how were you able to find space in the hospital?
When our first support group started, it was a doctor at the hospital that helped start it, and she was the head of the sleep center there. So they gave us a space, and then we've just always been able to secure that space since then. You know, and like I said, I know some people have problems with doctors' offices because other doctors don't want to advertise for them, but we've actually had great success. You know, there are most of the doctors that we've met are just happy to be able to refer their patients somewhere.
Yeah, because you know, I think nowadays patients kind of, you know, demand that. I mean, Diana said in her bio that, you know, she was asking her physician, where is a support group that I can find? So it's good for them to have a resource to refer their patients to. But even more than that, I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could have some grassroots movement where people are sharing information about their support group and people find out about it through their social media channels and by other ways aside from their physicians or in addition to their physicians?
Definitely. I mean, I have a Facebook page on that I could share the link with to you later if you want to put it up, but it's for support group leaders. So my goal on the page is that they can get on there, share ideas, share frustrations, and talk about different things and help each other build support groups.
Yeah, what do you think, audience members? Do you want us to post that link for you in our show notes at the end of the show? We can definitely post that in our comments, Sarah D. We'd really appreciate that. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who'd be interested in joining that group. I know that there's a lot of interest in people starting their own support groups. I think this is going to be a great resource. So we would really appreciate you sharing that with us. Can we talk a little bit about the grant that Narcolepsy Network provides and what that money covers and where it comes from and how it helps?
Definitely. So the network set aside $10,000 every year of our budget, and it's just for people to apply for a scholarship to pay for different things. So whether you want to try to get a guest speaker and there's a fee for it, if you have to pay for your meeting space, you would just write a request to, you can email me or email the network, write a request and, you know, tell us what you're using the money for, how much it is, and then we review them case by case. We do ask that one person from the support group is a member of the network, and that person does the requesting. But the network does have grants for our membership too. So I believe it's $40 for a yearly membership. But if that is not within your means, we can, you know, work something out to discount that or to even gift it.
Wow, that's great information.
And we don't give out enough money for it. I wish more people would request it, so I send it out there.
Oh, hear that, everybody? I think you'll be bombarded with requests now.
Good.
So let's say you're not able to get a grant for your space, but your space costs money. Are there other ways that you can pay for your space, or how do you find free spaces? Does anyone have any suggestions for that?
You can call your local libraries and definitely ask your doctor. They might be willing to give some space at the sleep labs as well.
Okay, we have a comment from one of our audience members. Hi, Ruth. How are you? Thank you so much for watching. She says, please post the link. So we will absolutely do that, Ruth. No problem. Sarah D will email it to me at the end of the show, and I'll post it in the show comments. Does that sound like a plan, Sarah D?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send you an email with everything.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about how you decide when to meet, like how often and what time. Sarah D, you gave some great advice about kind of go on the conservative side because you don't want to overstate your capabilities and what you can personally do. But how do you decide, like, what's a good day for everybody and what time of day is good and that kind of thing? So what are your considerations for those things? Diana, I'm going to start with you on that one.
My first meeting, I kind of asked our attendees what worked for them. We did that in the afternoon to give us sleepyhead some time to get there. We talked, but I had some requests to change it to 1. So I work with what works best for the people attending. As far as frequency, I started it every month, and I kind of feel the same way. We'll do it once a month, no matter how many people come, and the consistency is there. I make my meeting the first Saturday of every month, and it seems to have worked well.
Okay. Sarah D., how about you? Oh, you're muted, Sarah, I think.
There we go. We also meet the first Saturday, and I think at one of our first meetings we kind of did a poll, and we switched off. So first it was like Saturday 10:30, and then the next month we met at Thursday at 5:30. But then we saw that nobody came on the Thursday, so we just switched it. One thing I will say, definitely get the group consensus, but you have to be careful, because if you have 20 people and they all have a different time, then it gets a little crazy. So maybe suggest a couple of times and then see who has who can come to the most of those times that you suggest.
Oh, that's a really good idea. So it sounds like you both took into consideration the members who were attending your support groups. That's great. So how did you get the word out? So you decide you're gonna have a support group. You come up with a name and an email address and a space. So then what? Diana, how did you get the word out?
I started with a group, posting it out on there. I had some help. I opened up a website, and my doctors, I talked to my doctor. He was willing to mention it to people when they asked for it. So basically social media and word of mouth. At the conference, I mentioned it. Sarah Nichols was one of the people that found us, and we had gotten together for a dinner one night, and that's just the way. Just social media and websites work well.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull Sarah in just a second, but before I do, Sarah D., how did you get the word out about your group? And I think, yeah.
So we have a Facebook page, which that's one of the things I suggest people do after they create a name, is go on and make a Facebook page. Sorry, I have my mini helper. We also, if you send us at the network your information about your Facebook or about your group, we will share it on our website, on our Facebook page, and we email it out every once in a while. We'll say like, oh, here's the active support groups in the country. And then lastly, once you do have a Facebook page, post it like in every group that you can find on Facebook. Even before you have your first meeting, get the word out there that you're starting this group. Maybe you'll get other people to join with us. And we have a list of sleep doctors at the network, which we can share with you and help you with. And then, sorry, she doesn't like my talking. And we can email those people out. We'll find a group of people in your area within a certain distance of your zip code, and email out to them about this support group, like a quick blast.
Okay, all great ideas. I want to go to a comment from one of our audience members, Beth. Hi, Beth. She says it's nice to know that some memberships are free and others have options for covering membership costs. Absolutely, I love that idea of the grant being available for people, so that's great. Thank you, Michael. Sarah N., I'd like to pull you into the discussion now for your point of view as an attendee. So I want to know, first, how did you find out about the support group that you are attending? And then secondly, how do you kind of overcome the anxiety of just showing up to a group of strangers? How do you cross that line from, okay, I know the support group's meeting at this day at this time, I'm actually going to go and show up?
Well, I can see how that might be intimidating. I was really lucky because I was just diagnosed about not even a full month before the conference last year. I was diagnosed in mid-February, and the conference was in early March. And so when I went to the conference, I met two lovely young ladies named Jennifer Beard and Diana Kimmel, and lots of other people. But so when I went to my first support meeting here, I already knew two people who were going to be at the meeting. So that was really helpful, and so I was really lucky. But the Facebook group was the first thing that I saw, and that was really intimidating to me. For some reason, I didn't want to join the Facebook group, and then I didn't want to post. And I don't know if anybody could ever notice or anything, but normally when you join the Facebook group, you're supposed to do a introductory post. Hi, my name is Sarah. I have IH, whatever. Well, I didn't do that because I was too nervous, which is silly. But so yeah, that was what was really intimidating to me, not the meeting face to face. That wasn't so bad. But
Gotcha.
I think having Snooze News out there will be helpful too, because somebody in the Atlanta area says, oh, I've seen these people already, and so I'm going to go to this support group, and I already know who these people are, and they're not monsters. They're not going to look at me funny, whatever. And you're having people from around the world on these teleconferences. So I think it's going to be helpful.
I agree with you. Yeah. So what's it like to walk into a meeting filled with people? How does that feel?
Well, for me, it was wonderful. Every time I go to a meeting, I meet one or two new people, and actually one of the girls, I thought I met her, but I had already met her before, but that's part of the IH thing. So it was kind of funny. We got to, that was something that I didn't realize until I met these people, and they go, oh yeah, I do that too. And so it was kind of funny, but I absolutely swear I did not meet this girl 30 days ago, but I did. I just was tired and had forgotten, and rambling is also another symptom.
Okay, it looks like we have another question from our audience member, Ruth. Hi, Ruth. There's also a hypersomnia patient map. Could the foundation help new group leaders contact potential attendees in the local area? Let's see. I'm not really sure I understand your question, Ruth. Could the foundation help new group leaders contact potential attendees in the local area? Sarah D., do you want to speak to that?
Well, I mean that we don't. I don't know about the patient map. We don't usually post any information about our patients, or we don't have a map at the network. But I will tell you that once again, if you email us the information at the network about your support group, and we'll send it to all the members we have registered in that specific area. So depends on where you are, how far out you want to go, but yeah, we'll send an email to those people. We are working on having a more registered way of people, essentially a list, like these are people interested in starting a support group, these are people that want to be in a support group, so we can know like who to contact when, but it's just a process.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'd like to ask everybody, do you guys have like assigned welcome wagon people who approach new members who are coming for the first time to your support group meeting? Or what do you do for brand new people? I can imagine it can be a little anxiety producing to walk into a group of strangers. So do you make any provisions at your meeting for the welcoming of new folks? Diana?
I've never had to. My attendees kind of take that. I think they remember what it was like coming in the first time themselves, and I have just found my members extraordinarily welcoming to the newcomers. Maybe that's something I should think about, but it really seems to go well. If I could hit to that last question, and I think maybe what the person was asking is, could the foundation possibly let other people know if they're starting a support group? So would it be possible, like even like my group, could you put it out in a newsletter once in a while that this is a group, and though I run it on my own and it's not run by the Hypersomnia Foundation, would you be willing to take a new group and put it out in your newsletter so that people in that area would be able to know what's going on as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that members of the Hypersomnia Foundation will be absolutely discussing that. We're very interested in supporting our community. And so if that's a need in the community, then that's certainly something that we'll talk about doing. Absolutely. So let's talk about how you typically start a meeting. Everyone's arrived and you're all sitting there. I mean, do you sit in a circle? You stand? Do you sit at a table? And then who starts talking and how do you begin? Is there a set way to do that?
For me, usually, believe it or not, as sleepy as everybody is, they're chatting usually right away as soon as they come in. Once we feel like the majority of the people have arrived, we will then basically go around and give a little bit of a brief history just in case there's some new people. And then I do like to mention to everybody to please keep anything that they hear in the group in the group. Don't bring any information out, giving out people's names and things like that to respect the privacy of those who are attending. And it's always worked out very well.
Sarah N., what are the types of ways that you introduce yourself to the group, or what do you typically say when the meeting starts?
Well, I basically just say that I've been working with this for a little over a year now, or however long it's been. It's been almost a year and a half for me now, since the diagnosis. And I just tell them, what drugs I'm on, or how I'm doing today, something like that. It's real informal, and I'd like to keep my introduction pretty short because I don't have anything unusual going on with me most of the time. It's just hi, this is who I am, this is how long I've been dealing with this, next. Now I want to say that something that was very successful in our meeting, which we probably need to do again, Diana, is the first meeting I brought drinks, and the second meeting Diana brought drinks, and the third meeting I don't remember who that was, but somebody brought a cake. And yeah, we need more cake.
Sarah D., how do you guys start your meetings? And then I want to get back to the snack issue that Sarah N. just brought up.
Yeah, we usually just do the same thing. In Chicago, we have a 1-800 number that we invite people across the country to call into, and the network actually bought us a professional conference phone because we were using somebody's kitchen phone for a while, which was not very good. But so we introduce ourselves in the room, and then we introduce ourselves on the phone, and then we try to ask a new member. Usually Lucy in our support group is pretty good about acknowledging new people, and she'll ask them like if they had a question or something they wanted to talk about, because otherwise we don't even half the time talk about narcolepsy or what we're talking about our other things because we're been meeting for so long.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, let's talk about snacks. Are people, if I start my own support group, am I expected to bring snacks and drinks for everybody, and how do I know how many people are going to show up, and what do I do if nobody comes? So let's talk about that for a little bit. Diana, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Yeah, that was something I didn't really think about, and Sarah kind of stepped up and said, I'll bring drinks, which was really a big help, and it seemed to help. And it is kind of hard to formally put somebody in charge of that each time, because I have some people that come 3 months in a row, and then I won't see them for a couple months again. And again, the group kind of seems to identify the need and work within itself. Did have another member bring drinks. I brought drinks last time as well. Name tags is a good thing too. that are very helpful because as a hypersomniac, I forget people's names constantly. So yeah, I mean, I think that probably as your group grows, you should maybe have a sign up where people could, you know, email you, let you know that they're willing to bring a snack. It doesn't have to be anything really elaborate. One time I just bought candies and drinks. So anything works.
Cake is really helpful.
Why is cake helpful?
I just who was it that brought that cake? Do you know? Do you remember, Diana?
That was Janelle.
Janelle. If Janelle, if you're listening to this, we need more cake.
We need more cake.
Yeah, it was really good.
What I'm hearing is name tags and cake.
Chocolate. You know.
Well, they say.
What was really funny about the drinks thing, you know, I sent Diana an email before the first meeting, and I said, I'll bring drinks. And then I thought, crap, you know, what Jennifer was just asking, what do I bring? You know, do I bring water or 7-Up or tea? You know, there's, you know, 5,000 options. And then I finally realized, well, none of us are going to really have a problem with caffeine, and probably they'd like that. So that narrowed it down a little bit. So I ended up just buying a couple of 2 liters, and we drank about half, I think. And what we ended up doing, we were at a doctor's office, so we left the drinks for the doctors and the staff, you know, the following day. We just left them there.
So Sarah D.
I think really.
Oh, go ahead, Diana.
I really think anything is appreciated. It's a forgiving group and it's a welcoming group. So, you know, anything you bring, like I said, it's appreciated and welcome.
Sarah D., what about your group? Do you guys do snacks and drinks?
Yeah, you know what? It's unassigned. It's just when people bring on. We happen to have one member who is a very good gluten-free cook, and she brings us all kinds of delicious gluten-free baked goods that are phenomenal. So you feel a little bit better about eating them. Sometimes we have a member that's moving, so we had a pizza party after our last meeting, and we just said, if you want to bring something, bring it. We have a website, so there's a listserv that you can sign up for our specific support group, and then we send out a message before it. And sometimes we'll say, like, please feel free to bring something to share. But we've never made it like a sign up.
Mm-hmm. So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about confidentiality. Do you mention confidentiality in the groups? How do you protect people's confidentiality? Do people want confidentiality? And then I know, Sarah D., you had talked about phone conferencing. I know that some people have asked about video conferencing into support group meetings, so maybe those topics can kind of tie together. So Sarah N., maybe we could start with you. How do you feel about confidentiality in the support group, and do you feel like your confidentiality is respected?
Yeah, I really do. I feel like we all have this in common, and you know, I don't feel like anybody has done anything that I haven't wanted them to do with my information, or you know, the fact that I'm there. I'm very comfortable with the support group that I'm in. You were talking about video conferencing. I brought that up for us to video conference our support group out so that other people could participate. And somebody brought up a really valid, really great point, which is then we can't ensure confidentiality, and it might be a problem to other people. So I really like the fact that I felt like other people were looking out for me when, you know, it's not something that I thought of.
Diana, I'll come to you now. How do you respect people's confidentiality and ensure that people within the group are adhering to that, and or is that important? Is that something that's important to your group?
It's definitely important. There are people who are very private about having hypersomnia, and they don't want it out. They use alias names on Facebook. So I feel it is important. I feel it's important to mention it before each group really starts, that I hope everybody respects everybody's privacy. You know, leave the names and the particular information in the group. And I find that everybody's been very respectful, but I do feel that it needs to be mentioned before each meeting in a very gingerly, tactful way.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to mention it in every meeting. Go ahead.
I kind of go along the lines of, it's like HIPAA. You want to be respectful and keep it there. I do have a problem with the video conferencing because there's a lot of things. I'm not sure what network I would be working on as far as the internet. I don't know who's watching it, who's taping it. So that's been that we just have kind of stayed away from in my group. And to me, I kind of like it that it's personal. I think we're there in person. You talk to that person, you can look at that person, and that's what makes the support group so special. We do have Snooze TV. We do have Facebook groups for that internet long distance groups. So to me, I like to keep my group more on a personal note.
So Sarah D., I'm going to come to you now because I know you had mentioned the conference phone calling. Do you guys, is confidentiality important to the members of your support group? And if so, how does the phone conferencing play into that?
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely is, and it's something we would have to address on if a problem occurred. Luckily, we've never had a problem. We could tell how many people are on the line. We ask them to introduce themselves, and usually it's people. Honestly, like we have one member, Lawrence. He lives in another state, and he's like our honorary Chicago member. So we have people that call in. We recognize them from Facebook, and we know who they were. It hasn't been a problem for us. We've never video conference. We've had a speaker video conference in where we set it up and they Skyped in during their talk, but we've never done it out. And I agree. I think it's very hard. It becomes very public, and it's hard to protect the members that are there.
Great. I think we have another question from one of our audience members, Beth. She is asking, she's not sure if she missed it, but typically how long does a meeting last? Beth, what a great question. That didn't even appear on my list to ask yet, so thank you so much. So, Diana, how long does a meeting last typically for you?
They usually last about 2.5 hours. I do have a suggested end time of an hour and a half. I find 90% of the time I have to either A, shepherd the group out because everybody just wants to stay. I think they feel very welcomed and very accepted, and I often am amazed on how long the meetings actually can go on. And several times our group has left the actual meeting place and have gone to a local coffee house or restaurant and continued hanging out. So I let it vary. I let the group kind of dictate when they're done. Our space is very open. We could be there all day if we did need to. So again, I just kind of let it kind of go as long as it seems needed.
But at the same time, I'm sure you want to respect people's time and make sure that they have some
usually,
of the left. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's scheduled half, but it usually runs to about 2, maybe 2.25 hours.
And Jennifer, you were talking about people's time and scheduling and everything. A lot of people, if they have to leave, they just stand up and say goodbye and give everybody a hug and leave. So it really hasn't been a problem that I know of.
You feel like the length of time of the meetings that you attend, Sarah, is sufficient?
Oh, no, it should be longer. We should take naps and all kinds of stuff.
Sarah D.,
we do have a fun group.
Yeah. Sarah D., how about you guys? How long does your meeting typically last?
Yeah, the assigned time is 10:30 to 12, and we turn off the phone at 12 o'clock, but sometimes till the last person leaves, and then we're like walking out to the parking lot talking, or whatever the case might be. So definitely, they can go until 2, and if we have a pizza party afterwards, you never know. Like it can be a while. But we do turn off the phone at 12 because then it becomes more casual afterwards.
Oh, you have a pizza party? You didn't mention that in the snack.
Sometimes we do. We order pizza during the meeting and then have it afterwards and eat delicious food.
Oh, that's really fun. I never really thought about that, because then you get the social aspect of it as well, in addition to the support group. Okay, so let's switch gears and let's talk about who's welcome to come. Is it just people who share the illness that you particularly have, or is it open to everybody, friends, family members, spouses? So how do I know if I can come to your support group meeting? So Diana, I'll have you go first on that one.
It's basically open to anybody that has some issues sleeping, whether it's hypersomnia, whether they have the diagnosis of hypersomnia, narcolepsy without cataplexy. And they're supporters. I attended a narcolepsy meeting close by, and I like that what they said is we're open to anybody with narcolepsy or hypersomnia and anybody who loves them. And that really breaks down. We have quite a bit of supporters that have been joining us. I've actually started to think that we might have to have them break off so they could maybe have an opportunity to discuss just how great it is to love us and how easy it is to love us. And, so for me, I welcome anybody that feels like they need to be there.
And how about...
And I guess anybody who wants a pizza.
Go ahead. Anyone who wants pizza? How about you, Sarah D.? Who's welcome to attend your support groups?
Yeah, we encourage everybody. If you want to invite your doctor to learn more information or to come to the group, I think I said earlier, sometimes we have more supporters than people with narcolepsy or sleep disorder. We have a son that brings his 90-year-old mother, although they haven't been recently, but they came to a support group for a long time. We have another member whose daughter brings her. I go with my husband or without my husband sometimes. So it's really, we've had, families, maybe like the parents were divorced, but then they both came with their child that had narcolepsy. And then we've had it where like step parents have come without anybody. It's just whoever wants to learn more or be part of our conversation and can be respectful to the people there are invited to come.
So on the topic of who's invited, should supporters have their own support group? And if so, should it meet at the same location and time period as the people living with the illness support group? What do you think about that, Diana?
I think, again, it goes to just reading what your group needs. In the beginning, you only have a few people coming, so it's nice to have the internal conversation between the people with hypersomnia or narcolepsy and their supporters. I also find that there's some great input that a person with hypersomnia supporter that really, you see them shake their head like, oh my God, my loved one does that too. So I kind of like that we have that time together. I would almost maybe, as my group grows, maybe see us start together and then maybe break apart maybe mid-group and go from there. And I think that might end up working best. And that way, again, we come together and then we end together. And be together.
What are your thoughts about that, Sarah D? Do you think that supporters should have their own support group that meets at the same location and the same time but separately? Or do you think
I completely agree with what Diane just said. There is value in everybody being together for a while, especially when it's a first time maybe couple or parent and child, because they will hear that these things are happening to other people, and like I said before, some of it, there are things you can't see. So you know, or also, you know, somebody starts to describe something that they're feeling, and then somebody else is like, yes, I never knew how to say it, but that's exactly what it was. And so it's good to have the supporters there so they can hear that and get that experience. But then on other times, I mean, as a supporter myself, I love my husband very much. I never want to say negative. Well, he would say otherwise, but I really don't want to say negative things about him. But there's times you just need to vent, you know, or, you know, be understood by somebody who's going through the same thing that you're going through, or whatever. Just as much as people with a condition need that support group, people who are, I always say it could be difficult to be a non-sleepy person living in a sleepy person world, because it's, you know, you have your own challenges too that you're, you know, are going along with this. So anyway, my dream, I've had so many parents contact me and say, well, your support group's great, but I'm looking for a teen support group. Yes, I mean, I would love if there was enough people and enough support groups that we could have, you know, a teen support group or a youth support group, you know, whatever, as many support groups as possible. But, you know, just right now, that's not the reality. We're just, some people are lucky to have the support group that they have. So, but I mean, I think that would be great.
Well, maybe this is step one in inspiring other people to start their own support groups, because the more people that we can inspire and motivate to make their own support groups, the more support groups we'll have and will be available for people. So maybe this is just a step one in that direction. Let's hope so. Sarah N., I wanted to come to you for a minute, because as an attendee of a support group, how do you feel about supporters coming into the group? Is that something that you welcome, or is that something that makes you uncomfortable, or what are your thoughts about that?
I love it. I think it's a needed thing for lots of different reasons. One is at least one of our members, and I think more than one of our members, she can't, they're all women, she can't drive. The ones I'm thinking of, they can't drive. So, you know, without the significant other type person being there and being welcome, I mean, what's that person going to do? Sit out in the car? That's not fair. So that's a practical part. But for me personally, then getting to watch these people, the eureka moment, when they go, oh, you know, we've had that just about every meeting where a supporter goes, oh, and I think it's really needed. It's fun to watch them realize, you're not doing this to drive me crazy. You're doing this because you have a problem. So it's just been fun. I think that supporters are a good thing.
I just really fast, I was laughing because what Sarah N. just said, because if anybody from my support group is listening right now, 2 meetings ago, we just had this conversation, and we said we were going to start.
Uh-oh, did we lose her?
She froze.
Sarah, you froze on us. Can you hear us? Maybe she'll come back in just a minute.
Darn, that was getting interesting.
You know, about the eureka moment, it is an awesome thing to, when a supporter, they'll be listening to one of us speak about something that we're struggling with, or the one that comes to mind is trying to figure out what you have for dinner. And this seems to be something that I really thought, I never thought I did it. And then somebody pointed out to me that I can't figure out what I want for dinner, and picking out what's on the menu. And we were talking about this, and then all of a sudden, this supporter just had this look, and she said, "This is hypersomnia? I thought it was just her." And it is. It's that eureka moment, and it's priceless.
So Sarah D., if you can hear us, try hopping out of the Hangout and hopping right back in, and let's see if that helps to fix the issue. And we'll just move on to another question. So Sarah, Sarah N., I wanted to ask you a question. What keeps you coming back as an attendee of a support group?
Gosh, I don't really even know. I just, it's the feel-good moments of being around people who really fully understand. you know, this is definitely one of my rambling nights. I'm going to tell you about, since Beth is listening, Beth and I went to Walmart when she was here visiting in November, and we had more IH moments at Walmart than, I mean, we scared those salespeople silly because they were like, these people are crazy. What are they going to do? But, you know, being around Beth and around the support group, people that kind of do the same thing I do, was just really rewarding. It's kind of crazy sounding, but yeah, I think that's most of it is just that that it's comfortable, and I don't have to really worry about, you know, when I do these things, you know, where I lose the train of thought that I'm on or whatever, they go, oh yeah, whatever, you know.
It's no big deal. They understand.
Yeah.
Sarah D, I wanted to come back to you really quickly because we were all on the edge of our seats listening to
I know, sorry. My computer kicked me off, so I'm on my phone right now. But I was just saying, we were saying, you know, we had these last couple of meetings, and we had those people that had the aha moment, and that's how we were going to make money, is when we saw people with and we recognized the aha moment, and then we were going to say, okay, that will be $50. So
you had an epiphany. Pay money into the pot for pizza.
And that's exactly what we said. We could see it, this epiphany that they had, and they realized, like, oh my gosh, yes. And then and then it happened, and it's cheaper than a psychiatrist.
And it's worth it. It is so worth it. You're right.
Okay, so we are actually coming, you know, to the end of our time together, but I just wanted to touch base with you all and see, so, okay, you have all inspired me. Now I'm ready to start my own support group. Where can I find resources to help me get started? Sarah D, can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I can hear you. So definitely, I mean, NN. I know, Jennifer, you're going to post some information that I sent you. I'll provide my email address. Please feel free to email me. And if I don't respond, email me again. You know, so I also plan our conference, so sometimes emails get boggled down at the very beginning. Facebook, email the network, and I'm sure just like you can email the Hypersomnia Foundation. You know, we're here. I'm a person who loves somebody with narcolepsy, and everybody that, you know, that I volunteer with are either people with narcolepsy or people who love somebody. So that's what we're here for.
Thank you. Diana, where do you have other suggestions of where I can find resources to help me get started?
Definitely visit the hypersomniafoundation.org. You can ask them. They have some. They have a link. You can actually print out some brochures and have them at your meetings. I know they have some support I can share with you. They are welcome to email me at Atlanta Hypersomnia Support.com, and I'll be happy to help anybody in you know, talking about how to start a support group meeting, or, you know, just get started and just bounce off some ideas. And as always, definitely the internet.
Okay, Sarah N., do you have any tips for somebody who's thinking about starting a support group out there as an attendee and somebody who appreciates their support group?
No, really, I don't. I mean, I think that Diana did a great job. I was really excited to go to our first meeting, so I think that it worked out really well. And other than that, you know, just try it, and if it works, then, you know, you haven't failed unless you've tried it, and if you try it and it works, then it's a great success. You've helped people.
And before we go, we have one more comment from Beth, who's laughing about her Walmart experience. It was so validating, comforting, and funny at the same time. It was like a mirror experience. And I think that a lot of people can say that about their support group. It's like sitting in a room full of people who totally get you and totally understand you. And you know, you don't have to explain yourself. And I can imagine that that's a wonderful and fulfilling experience to have. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today for this support group show on Snooze TV. Thank you so much, guest panel members, Diana, Sarah N., Sarah D. Thank you, Michael, for being our technical producer. I want to thank our audience members for joining and participating by posting their comments live. Thanks, guys. And I just want to remind you that all of the Snooze TV episodes are archived on the Hypersomnia Foundation website at www.hypersomniafoundation.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel. And, you know, to me, in addition to small local support groups, I think conferences are a big support group. And I know the Narcolepsy Network has a conference that Sarah D. helps to plan every year, and that's coming up. Sarah D., do you guys know when your conference is going to be? Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, it's, I can't remember the dates. It's October, Columbus Day weekend. I want to say it's like the 6th, 7th, and 8th in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and registration will be opening very soon, so definitely look for that.
Thank you. And the Hypersomnia Foundation also has a conference coming up that's going to be July 17th and 18th in Atlanta, Georgia. And you can find more information about the conference and purchase tickets on our website. And remember that Snooze TV airs live the second Friday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And our next show is going to air on Friday, June 12th at 8 p.m. And the next show is going to be all about asking the conference committee members. So any questions that you have about the conference, you'll be able to ask the conference committee live on the air. We also have a Google Doc out there on our social media channels as well as our website where you can go ahead and submit your questions now for that show. And you can also post them on YouTube and Google Plus for our conference committee members to answer that. We're also going to have a very big announcement during that Snooze TV show, so be sure to tune in for that. And remember, everybody, we're not taking it lying down, and we'll see you next time on Snooze TV.